Good morning, folks. Happy Thursday. Very excited to be here with you all for another Thursday stream with ADSR. My cable's a little tangled here. But good morning. Well, it's 7 a.m. here on the West Coast. Let me know what time it is and where you're watching from. I would love to hear it. Today, I'm stoked because for the past few weeks, we've been working on a LOFI beat. Looks kind of like this. So last week we went through and completely started arranging this beat. We built it off from just a few loops over here. And this week what I want to do, or what we talked about doing last week, was we were going to go ahead and completely finish it. So we did a little bit of mixing last week. We did a little bit of final touches. But this week we are going to completely finish, or at least try to completely finish, add some bells and whistles, add the finishing touches, and hit export, hopefully by the end of this stream, fingers crossed, and be completely done with it. What's going on, Tom Adams? Good to see you. It's 10 a.m. where you're at. Jermaine on Facebook, 10 a.m. in Atlanta. Peace and love, bro. Peace and love to you too, bro. If you are here, make sure you just jump in the chat, because if you have questions along the way, I can answer them. This stream will be available after we are live, so if you come in a little late, it's no problem. Previous streams are live on ADSR's channel, so if you like what you hear so far, which let's just play a beat and you guys can let me know how the levels are. If you do like this beat, if you are feeling it, you can actually go back and see how we came up with the initial ideas of this beat. Big E says 7 a.m. I'm up in Oregon. Nice, dude. We're both early crowd. Yeah, this is the beat as it stands. I'm gonna add a little more to it. Let me know if you need more volume on the beat, more volume on the voice, whichever you need. It's a little bit of a dark lo-fi beat. It's not your typical, chill hop lo-fi beat, which I like. Sometimes on this stream we have technical difficulties. If that happens, just let me know in chat, because I'm monitoring the chat in real time with you all. So sometimes my camera will freeze or random stuff like that. Let me know. I'll go into a be right back screen and I will try to fix the issue. Adib Khalid, 907 Chicago. What is going on from West Coast to Chicago, middle of the country? But so far, this is our beat. We're obviously building to something. And last week we ended on me drawing this crazy line. And what this line is the progression and the building of momentum on the track. So you can see we're constantly building. So this is not like a real audio track. This is just a demonstration of a line. So as you can see right here, we're about to hit the peak of the track. Section right here, this 8 bars is, that golden mean. 3/4 of the way through the track, we have built it to a moment where suddenly all of our musical ideas are playing, and it's just very triumphant, satisfying for the listener. And here we just drop off a lot of things and we do an outro. Adib says I could hear Lord on this. That'd be dope. That would be so cool. And then we fade out. So this is our beat so far. It sounds near ready, I would say, but I think I have a few ideas of how to just really bring it to the next level. Remember, we only built this. If you can count the unique loops, I would say let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not really going to count the effects. What is it? About 8 unique loops in general. We want to count these. 9. And these are all inspired by the LOFI pack from ADSR. So that was one of the main driving forces here. Beatmaster says is low enough for lo-fi. So one of the not limiting factors, but one of the factors I used to limit myself so I could be a little bit more creative was to just use one pack. And I believe all but 1 or 2 sounds are from the lo-fi pack on ADSR. So that's one technique I really like to do, is use a single sound pack, so I'm not constantly searching among millions and thousands of samples, but so that I have a limitation. I say I have to work within these parameters. But if you have ideas in the chat of how we can finally finish this, let me know. But I have some things that I would like to do. They have to do with filtering and EQ, etc. Check the chat if you're interested in that pack that we used to make this track. Let's try to just create a proper intro here. Anything we can do, because if you notice, this sound is kind of the backbone, or it ends up becoming the backbone, and we want it to be not too monotonous. So one thing we can do instead of, switching up the sound or switching up the musical idea, is playing with the sound, filtering it, cutting some EQs, etc. So what I'm doing now is drawing automation lines. I'm using my basic audio processing rack, which has a low cut and a high cut, and I'm automating both those parameters. Now here the bass comes in, and I have an idea for the bass that utilizes our sidechain compressor. So just to review really quick, the sidechain compressor is taking a signal from the kick drum. So every time the kick drum hits, whatever is mapped, whatever has a sidechain compressor on it, is actually, ducking. We're hearing a duck or a volume drop as soon as that kick hits. Hear it here. And you can see it getting triggered there. What I would like to play with right now is actually raising the release on that sidechain compressor for this first section, because what that will do is it'll hit that bass note hard, and the bass note will take longer to fade back in, because right now it's really short. Right now it's 50 milliseconds. So it's coming right back in. I want it to be more dramatic. So let me show you what I mean when I turn up this this release size. So it's taking longer to release it. You can even see it here. Let's go even more extreme so I can better demonstrate what I'm doing. So that's basically saying it's taking 2 seconds to come back up to where it needs to go. We don't need to do that. One thing we can also do is change this ratio. So the ratio of sort of compressed to uncompressed is more drastic, which will create a more drastic effect here. So you notice that initial soft sound and that ending sort of loud or full strength sound. Now it's a lot more drastic difference between them when I change the ratio. Capel, what is up? Baggery Records, what's going on? Says output on headphones / speakers while production and mixing and mastering. Yeah, I had a conversation with a Grammy Award winning mix engineer, Ariel Borgio, and I asked him that question. I was like, can you do what you do on headphones? And he said, absolutely, as long as you know your headphones. Now, I'm no mixing mastering engineer. I'm just an artist who kind of mixes and masters my own stuff on the fly. I'm by no means a super professional in that field, but it's what I need to do to get by. Capel, so glad you could be here. Okay, so what we did there, and I'm actually gonna, make this a little less drastic here, is we're altering that bass sound so it has a little bit more of a fade-in effect using the compressor, using the sidechain compressor. Now, if I didn't have this on, it would sound like this. Just very flat bass tones. But But I think this is a little more dynamic, a little more interesting to listen to. Now we have these bells here, which are fine, but I feel like they feel dead center in the mix. And all of my tracks load with this utility tool on them, which I can use to just do something as basic as change the gain or the pan if I don't want to use these mixer controls here. Which in general, what I like to do is keep these all steady at a certain spot and then go ahead and automate or change that with the gain knob. What I can also change here is the width. So let's listen to how this sound changes as I turn up the width. Now usually what I find is I perceive it as getting a little bit more gain, so I like to roll back the gain when I do that. But what it does is it makes the sound wider, obviously. And I don't think that bell sound needs to be in the dead center. So we just added some width to our bells. So you can see, like, slowly but surely here, we are adding in different little touches to make the mix slightly more interesting as time goes on. Because a lot of the music that I make is built around loops. And looping music can get really boring, but if you listen to the radio, a lot of music is built off loops. And it's still very, very interesting. So here we're at, a few minor changes to make this mix slightly more interesting, and I'm kind of happy where we're at. We're gonna do a couple more things that I think are a little more fun in a moment. Luis Varela, good morning, my friend. How are you? So we've just made this wider. And also remember on this bass, where we added that fade in effect, we only made that a reality here. The rest is going to be back to normal. It's going to be more of a rock solid bass. One more thing I would like to do here, and then we're going to mess with the vocal sample. For this section where everything sort of drops out, I have a couple ideas. Maybe I would like to emulate the same thing I did at the beginning with the chord progression, aka do a low cut and also do a high cut. Let's just hear it. I kind of like that. I think there's one more effect that I would like to add. And one thing I want to just show you real quick that you have to be careful about when you're automating. Let's listen to this chord progression. Because now that I've applied those filters, we see that the line jumps right back up here. And you hear that click. So what's happening is we automated it. And then I only automated it for this section. But it jumps right back up. And the tail of that sound is, you know, still a sound. So that automation is effective, even though we can barely hear it. So one thing I like to do there is you could either just extend this, since the sound is no longer playing anyway. I could extend this to be here, so this just matches. Get rid of this little node so they're in the same place. Or you could just like fade it back up like that. Either works. But now you won't have that click when this is done. Because even though we can barely hear it, we can still hear it. I still had a click there. Ah, that's because we automated both. So let's make sure we keep track. So what I'm going to do here is just click one node here, get rid of this one, then it fades. Now no more click. Still a click, I thought. Maybe not, maybe I'm just crazy. I think it's still receiving from the sidechain. One other effect I would like to add to that 4 bars is flanger. Let's just hear what this sounds like. I'm gonna add it before that. It's a little extreme right out of the gate, but let's go ahead and just dry wet, bring it down. And this is just to give it a slightly different sound, and I'm only going to turn it on literally for that section. Let's go ahead and automate that because I really like the way that sounded, just automating that frequency. And I might want to add this in before the EQ. I'm happy with that. Beatmaster says, do you approach it by using the samples by ear, or do you go by theory like making polytonal melodies? Polytonal melodies is not the right term you want to use, but I do use music theory. But I use my knowledge of music theory, and I also work by ear, if that makes sense. So if we move on to like this vocal sample, something else is armed. Oh no. Let's go octave down. Something else is definitely armed, right guys? I hear it. Yeah, there it is. That was a cool kind of sound design thing, having both of them. So let's go ahead and look at this vocal sample. What notes do we have there? E. It's been a while since I played this. So that is all based around an A minor chord, because are we actually in A minor? Actually, let me double check. Because occasionally, and we're actually in A minor, so occasionally what I will do is actually not transpose a sample and just do it by ear. But this sample happened to be in key, I believe, and we could just double check that. And when I say in key, I just mean that when I play a C on the keyboard, the sample is playing the note C. Occasionally, samples don't do that, and I actually just transpose in my head. So this track is in A minor, but say this note was different from C and it was actually more relative to G minor, I would just play the notes of G minor even though I was hearing different notes. We can get into that. That's a whole nother stream, is like music theory and sampling and all that. Yeah, I'm sure Adam Neely has used that term, but that's not what we're doing here. That's a little more of a complicated term than what's happening here. Nothing is polytonal here. So this is all in one key, polytonal meaning multiple keys. So when this vocal sample comes in, I'm a little bit bored. And I would like to try something. Let's try duplicating this track. Guys, questions, comments along the way, let me know in chat. I've got both chats in front of me. I've got Facebook and Twitch on my phone. I've got YouTube on my iPad. And we are good to go. So I just duplicated that vocal track. I want to just mess with it a bit. So one way I want to mess with it is not by maintaining this MIDI. I actually want to make an audio version of this. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze this track. And what freezing it does is it essentially locks in everything. So it's not running all the effects. It's not running the sample every time. It's essentially making it audio before it actually is locked into being audio, because you can unfreeze it and go back to MIDI. But freezing us allows us to flatten, which really makes it audio only. Boom. So now we have just audio. You notice that gives us different clips here, which I like different tails. We can actually probably use this tail. So this was not my original idea, but let's go ahead and I also think I need to add a different track here. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this for now, because I want to do a couple of different things that I think I want to be on their own channel. So I've got this little tail here, which would make probably a great riser. Except I need to crop the sample first. Let's go ahead and crop the clip so that it's just those few bars there. And let's go ahead and reverse the sample so that it has a building motion instead of a dropping down motion. Move it right up here. Looks like it doesn't cleanly get there, but I can shorten it. Let's bring the gain up. I think we have some room. And let's just hear what this does at first. So we take that reverb tail and we totally build it up. Let me see this. Let me see. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of that click there, which I don't like. So I'm gonna go ahead here. I don't like that. Let's go here. What is causing that click? I'm gonna venture to guess that that's not really there. Ah, there we go. Okay. And we could probably bring this up volume-wise, but let's just hear what it sounds like leading into this. Fong from Malaysia, 10 p.m. Wow. That's crazy. All right, so what I just heard was this needs to be louder. Compressing it a bit. Reverb. Yeah, I just don't think it's loud enough because what ultimately happens is that vocal... Oh, that's what's happening. That's why that vocal sample sounds too loud. It's doubled currently. That's just me being messy. This should sound better. All right, so already right off the bat, I feel like we have something cool to work with just from bouncing that to audio. And we could do things like mess with the pitch, which could also sound cool. 1 octave, 12 semitones. But if we want to do that, we need to change the warp mode. And I really like that. What I would also do, probably, give me that utility. Is actually want this to build up to complete silence there. Let's automate that. Complete silence. And the only thing that's following is that delay tail. Let's just hear it without that. Wash it out with even more reverb. Bring the volume down a bit. Then one little fun trick, let's have this jump between headphones. So I'm going to pan from right to left, just like that. Let's do it more like this. Needs to actually start sooner and be more drastic. So I'm not positive that the stream is coming through in stereo, but when you hear this track in stereo, it'll sound like it's cutting right across my headphones. Liquid says, have you got a record deal? Nope. Just doing my thing. Okay. We'll probably repeat that along the way. One thing I would like to try is actually pitching this whole normal vocal sample here up an octave. Let's try Complex Pro. And I might try actually making this a call and response type situation. Let me see. Oh, let me turn this back on, bring the volume down. Can't really hear. That's more obvious. I probably want to just shape the sound a little bit because I don't want it to be the brightest thing. So actually it's going to be easier if we just use the basic audio processing rack, which is kind of my custom rack. I've got a tutorial on my channel on how to use it. Let's go ahead and do that. Roll off the highs. Get rid of some lows. Lots of reverb. And now, this isn't exactly how I want it. The reverb does not need to be that extreme. But what I want to do is, let me just move this and move that, is create some type of call and response, like I said earlier. So let me see what it sounds like if I do like this. Very subtle, but I like it so far. We're gonna go back and use our width on a utility tool again to make this nice and wide. So those vocals I actually want, let me see, they're a little bit wide, but I kind of want them dead center now, and I would like to make this part wide. Compensate and bring the gain back down. And I want this to be very washed out and in the background, so the dry wet is high on the reverb. I might even pull back on the volume a bit, so this is almost barely audible. This just adds a certain ghostly element here. What is up, KGP? Welcome. Glad you could make it. All right, I am happy with that. What would happen if we just did a high pitch version here? Tones 12. Crop this clip, reverse it. Get rid of that one. There we go. I'm happy with that. So now we kind of have this new thing to listen to. It's just the same musical idea up an octave, but it makes things more interesting for the listener, and that's what we are focused on in loop-based music, keeping things interesting for the listener. Let's, what did I just do? Bring this here, but then bring this up. There we go. All right, let me hear how that sounds. I might filter it up over time. Emilio, what is going on? Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. KGP says, nice new studio. Thanks. I'm going to slowly be rolling out like content with the new studio. So I think I'm putting up a vlog today. And then next week I will have a full studio tour up. There's a little tease in the new vlog because the vlogs are a little bit behind real life. But all right, let's do what I just talked about and actually allow some high frequencies in here. And what I want to do here is actually go back to that echoing effect with the higher octave. So I'm going to delete that and paste what I did there. And I think at the end there, what we need to do is a similar effect to what we did to the chords at the beginning and filter some stuff out. That's a low cut and a high cut for both of these, I think. Going with the flow here. Chat, let me know how you think it sounds so far. So we go to here. I'm hearing all right channel there. That's interesting. I wonder why that is. Let me make this mono for a moment. Am I crazy? Oh, I know what's happening. This is playing. That's not what I want. Silly mistake. This channel is exclusively for this little riser that we made with the vocal sample, and I accidentally left it on, and I was hearing all in the right ear, and that's because this is panned all the way to the right. So let's go back to this outro section. Too much filtered out there. We'll go back here. And what it might be is that I want more high frequency, less low frequency. And I'm gonna roll low frequency out of this at this moment here. I'm feeling it. All right, let's go just double check everything that we just did with those vocal samples because we did a lot there. Oh, I left that track turned off. A little vocal. I think that is a little loud in retrospect now that I'm looking at it. What I'm missing there is, I think that rain, I'm not sure if it's rain or let's find it. Wind. Yeah, because we built a riser out of wind essentially here. I think that this needs to fade out sooner, filter out, I should say. Let me see. M shape. Maybe it doesn't go up all the way either. Yeah, it's a little more subtle that way. open it back up like that. Sounds like the computer might be getting a little hot with some of those clicks, but that's okay. KGP asks, do you use the Launchpad Pro Mark III? Just got one in yesterday, so have not used it yet. Capel says, I like that one shot on track 4. Tell me about it. Oh yeah, this little one shot, like, it's so weird. I think we start, like, this was like the second thing we added to the track. It's not even in the right key. It just adds to the effect. I don't know. What time is it? All right, we got time. So see how from where we started, chat, like, even if you're listening or watching this later, go back and watch the beginning because we played through the original version of this track. And we've already just added enough elements to make it just better, more interesting. I think probably I will pull back here, all the way here. Chat, I just finished watching the Harry Potter series for the first time last night. I'm a Star Wars guy. My girlfriend likes Harry Potter. You guys should let me know what your favorite of the Harry Potter series is, if you're a Harry Potter fan. I mean, I don't really know how that translates to an international audience because I know lots of you all are from around the world, so I don't know if Harry Potter is like a thing beyond like England and the States. I don't know, let me know. I'm liking what we're doing so far. There's one thought that I had though. A little mixing technique I would like to do. And it has to do with wherever the tops loops is. So this doesn't happen often, but there are occasions where this loop that I'm listening to right here, this random little percussion loop, is playing at the same time as the kick and snare. And I think the snare has a tendency to get lost in it, or it can clash a little bit. So what I might do here is actually add another sidechain compressor, not to have that kick pumping effect, but to have a slight mixing effect where wherever the snare happens, which let's figure out what the snare sample is, go into our drum rack. This sample right here, so the clap. So on our percussion track, I'm adding another sidechain compressor, clicking sidechain here, finding that clap sample. Gosh, I hope it's that one. And I'm not going to do it as extreme as the kick, but I am going to bring down this threshold slightly so that whenever that clap is triggered, if it was gonna clash with that lo-fi like percussion loop, it's not gonna anymore because the clap is always cutting through first because of that side chain, and the lo-fi percussion loop is ducking under it. So it's not to have a pumping sound, it's actually a mixing technique. Capel says, I only watched in Slovak. That's cool. But how did you like it, Capel? That's the real question, regardless of language. Now, I always get to this point in my mixes where I hate the snare, so that clap is now annoying me. Let's see what we can do about it. Sometimes I like to go in and EQ it specifically. That low frequency flutter, which we don't need. And I am using this section at the end here where everything's playing as a reference of where I can mix. Yeah, Beatmaster, that's unfortunate. I kind of just try to separate the instances like that. I try to separate the art from the artist. But I hear you. just feel like there's some frequencies bothering me in that clap. Let me just loop this section here. FYI guys, the way I know that some of those little clicks and pops that maybe you guys are hearing on your end are not in the mix and they're actually just like processing CPU having issues is that it doesn't happen consistently in the same place every time. So if you go back and listen and a little click or a pop doesn't happen in the exact same place every time, it means it's the processor, it's not in your mix. What was I just doing? I just got distracted. I want to find a frequency in this clap that bothers me. It's probably smarter to do it like shift drum. There we go. So I'm like sifting through trying to find a frequency that's bothering my ear, and I want to get this Q really tight so I can find a particular frequency that's bothering me. Somewhere. That might be it. So if that like sharpness is hurting your guys' ears, it's hurting my ears too. So then we just do the opposite. We take it out. I already like it. Can we just A/B test this? Am I crazy? Yeah, for some reason I just like getting that frequency out of here. Alright. Do you make these kind of lo-fi tracks often? I guess you could say that. I'm making all kinds of beats all the time. So this is a little bit darker. I just tend to have a dark edge to the beats though. So I guess short answer, yes, I guess. It looped. Beldenenoff. Hope you'll have a good day today. Thank you so much. You too. Hope you also have a great day. I'm feeling good about this track so far. Let's go here. Pickets. Do you keep things as MIDI or do you like to bounce down and mess around with the audio? I like to bounce down and mess around with the audio. If you're just tuning in, we kind of did that with the vocal sample and we were able to, you know, create a duplicate of this vocal sample, which is MIDI, and then get it to audio and make a really cool, like, added layer to the track that wasn't there before. Yeah, I can imagine you probably can't hear much difference with the snare, but that's kind of how it happens. Make these little minor changes, obsess over these minor changes, and then people listen to it through their phone, and who knows if there's a difference. Darren James, good morning. Darren James, having trouble getting up in the morning? You're late again. I'm just kidding, man. Welcome. Glad you can make that. Darren James, let me know if you hear a noticeable difference in the track between now and last week. Should be considerably better. I wonder if we don't do this right off the gate. And it starts here. I think that's better. Beatmaster, I know I missed your question. What is the best way to approach the length of a track that is very loop heavy? One of the tougher things for me. Always end up with tracks longer than 6 minutes. That's interesting because I would think it would be the opposite problem. Because when you're using loops, let me get through with this part and then I'll answer that question. Alright, something I would like to do here is a little bit of auto pen. This is going to shake the sound for us. Change the amount, change the rate. I might change it over time, but let's just do it for here. Start with the amount low. So if you don't know what the auto pan does, it's going to automate the panning. So it should sound but if we only do it on one section, it's pretty effective. These little effects, guys, that can keep things interesting. Now I'm thinking that this pause should be longer. Alright, let me answer that question, Beatmaster. So, your problem, you're saying the tracks are too long. I'm thinking loop-based music, the tracks end up usually being too short. So I think even for some people, this track is probably too short because it's under 3 minutes. I'm fine with it though. But if you go back and watch last week's stream, what we did was we plotted out this whole track from loops. So go back on ADSR's channel and watch last week's stream. But that's what we did. We arranged it. We took all these loops, and the very important thing is rate of change in loop-based music, because you want things to constantly be happening even though you have fewer musical ideas. Well, I guess loop-based music doesn't mean fewer musical ideas, but if you have too many, it's just messy. What's the point of doing loop-based music? Take a loop, another 4 bars, add another loop. Another 4 bars, add another loop. Then add another loop. You got 4 things going. Then drop some stuff out and add some window dressing, add some samples and stuff. Then bring in something new. So you notice every 4 bars, something new happens or something drops out. And then we build to a moment where suddenly everything is playing. That is my philosophy generally around loop-based music. So I accidentally cut the highs for this whole thing. We're looping. I'm wondering, where are those bells? I think I thought of Harry Potter because of these bells. I wonder if we can get away with not playing these right away. Then they're gonna come in right here and really drive us home to the end of the track. Darren James, trying to learn arrangement at the moment. Any tips for breaks? What do you mean by breaks, Darren James? Let me know. Big fan of those birds chirping in the background. You love to see it. I'm feeling good, chat. We're very close. I wonder if we can even give a little hint of the vocals a little bit earlier. Keep it at the low octave here. I like that. I even like that it's a little bit wrong. It ends a little bit over the bar line. have a mastering chain on here, which we went over in a previous stream. Pickets. You just triggered a reminder in my head of something I wanted to do in this track. It said, love those wet and saturating tones. Yes. And one thing I would like to automate is some reverb. I don't know why. You made me think of that. I want this one. This is something I do a lot. Just randomly. Like if down jams, I just don't really know. People use break like for all to describe all different things. If you're talking about like the main section of the track, like the part that you want everybody to be hyped and listening to, what you can do to make that to add interest is completely build it to a point where they haven't heard any of those sounds playing all at the same time yet. It's the first time. Let's focus. The reason I have to go a little bit before it because it's a little bit off the grid. There we go. Who doesn't like a wet reverb, says Beatmaster. It's true. And I'm gonna go back on what I did before and bring this volume up. Yeah, Go Full, it kind of did evolve into kind of trap. It's still like a dark lo-fi trap beat. Like if I had to quantify it, I would do it that way. Thank you, Capel. Thank you. See, but it's got the Foley in it. Like, it's got the birds chirping in the wind. Like, you don't hear that in trap. That's my thing. Like, it's got elements of both. Yeah, and if the definition, Beatmaster, is wibbly wobbly, let's add some more wibbly wobbly. It might be too much. It's just a joke. Gotcha, Capo. Capo, instead of heightening the mic, I might bring back the track a bit. Might split the difference. I'm pretty satisfied, and there's a certain point, guys, where I could continue to work on this for a very long time. Like, just never stop. We could come back every single Thursday, work on it for an hour till the end of time and never be done. But at some point you gotta call your tracks done. And we're very close here. excited about it. Can you hear that bass? Remember how we changed the release? The release is extreme over here and not so extreme over here. We don't really get a fade sound, we just get a duck, and then it's right back up. One mixing thing I'm thinking about right now is just a little bit on this plucked lead. It sounds a little bit like it's carrying a little bit too much low end. Just sweep out some of those lows. Beatmaster says art isn't done, it's abandoned. I like that. And we fade out for quite some time. I just want to catch where the end of this fade out is so I know where to put this little end marker. Right there. I'm satisfied with that. I might add a little buffer right there. We have practically a 3-minute long track. Chat, this is good. I think this is where we want to be. Like, since this is like finishing lo-fi, quote unquote, I'm not like Capel, I don't take sounds and put them through an actual tape machine, but we do have like our tape machine plug-in here. I think without, you'll find it loses some of its character. Getting a bit of saturation, getting a bit of noise, etc. I love the sound of that drive. But I do have one other trick up my sleeve, which requires us to export, which is what we're gonna do anyway. So let's abandon, as Beatmaster says. Art is never finished, it is abandoned. So let's go here. Lo-fi stream. I'm just going to leave it called that so I know what to call it. And let's chat. Let's see what chat is talking about. Goful says, okay, maybe the definition of lo-fi shifted, but some years back, lo-fi beats were like this next level boom bap type beat with dusty sounds and swinging drums, but I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of, you're really thinking of like lo-fi hip hop, chill hop, very like J Dilla is the epitome of that. And I think now like lo-fi is more of like an adjective added on to other things rather than just a genre in itself, because you can have lo-fi hip hop, you can have, I guess you would call this lo-fi trap, different things like that. But Beatmaster is right. If you ask 10 lo-fi listeners what lo-fi is, you'll get 11 different answers. Like when I listen to lo-fi on Spotify and stuff like that, I'm looking for playlists that have more synth-driven tracks, that have more electronic-driven tracks, and I don't love so much the lo-fi tracks that are, you know, the typical genre that you're describing, Goful, which are like sampled jazz, guitar, chill hop, things like that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. I just prefer a different style of lo-fi. So I think there's lots of branching off to be done in that genre. Capel, I'm probably not going to do that on stream. I will probably just do that off stream. I'm going to add one more kind of effect here, the lo-fi kind of effect that I usually do. I've been dropping some flames on Facebook. Thank you for watching. And then next week, chat, if we go live with ADSR next week on Thursday, let's work with another pack and build up a completely new beat and see what direction we go. All right, the export is done. What I want to do now is open a new live set. Let's definitely save this one. We're going to mess with the export of what we just did for a moment. So let's go ahead and delete. Oh, good thing live does not let you delete the last track. So we've got our audio track here. I want to go ahead and find the track we just made. Recordings, ADSR LOFI stream. Let's go ahead and drop this in here. Okay. Squid's killing it on Spotify. It has some dope lo-fi. I will check it out. Thank you, Michael. So here we have, I'm going to make 2 of these. I'm going to just duplicate this. Hello. Duplicate. Okay. And now we have 2, using one of these just for the reference. Capel, have a good day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to do this last thing, guys, and then we'll be done with this track for now. And just to show you guys an effect, I don't know if I will actually use what we're about to do here. I'm unwarping it, and then I'm warping it again, because I don't want it warped to the BPM of, you know, what this project defaulted at. I would like to change the warp mode to repitch. I'm only going to work with one of these. I have 2 of them because I want to have one for reference, because I'll show you what we're going to do. I'm working with the second one. I put it in repitch warp mode. And now what I would like to do is lower this segment BPM. And you notice the track gets shorter, hence the reason I have a reference track above it. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this to half-ish. So I'm just like judging it with my eyes. And we're going to go ahead and flatten or freeze and flatten this track so that it's half as long. What that sounds like is like a higher pitched, faster track. Let's play here. Now, that's not the point of what we're doing. The point of what we're doing now is we just flatten that at that length. So what we're going to do now is go back into repitch mode, and we are going to stretch it back out so that it's hopefully about the same length as the original, so it doesn't change the feel or the tempo. I think we did it spot on there. Very close. This is a dark art, I would say. All right, that's close enough, I'm going to say. Now let's listen to it. Now it's stretched audio. Let's bring this up to 0. I want to compare this really quick to the other one. Listen to how much of the high frequencies are still there. And here, we're getting a little bit less of the high frequencies. Now, this might not be extreme enough for you to hear. So I'm going to actually undo a bunch of the things that I just did. Yep. And let's undo one more time. And here we go. I'm going to now bring this way lower. So essentially like the opposite of stretching. I guess I don't want to say compressing. I don't want you to be confused, but we're shrinking it down. That honestly might be too much. All right, let's try this again. So we shrunk it down even more, way less than halfway. We froze it, we're flattening it. Now we're stretching it back out to its original length. So you see what's happening is we're degrading the audio because we're shrinking it and stretching it. It's losing some fidelity. But we need to be in repitch mode. So we get a lo-fi sound. We get just a degraded kind of lo-fi sound. This will get more extreme. Let's undo a couple more times. And I just want to do one super extreme one in case you're still not understanding the difference. Shrink it. I don't care. This is going to sound like a mess. But this is like one thing you can do if you really want that lo-fi effect sound. And you can even work with like blending a track that you haven't done this with and a track that you have done this with so that you get both signals. So we've just done that. We've shrunk it to maybe, what is that, 1/8 of the original track. Repitch mode, stretch it back out. This is going to sound super degraded. Let's bring that up to 0 dB. think that's the right length-ish. So here, and now it's really crushed. So at a certain point, you just lose all low frequencies. But it sounds like it's, you know, listening to lo-fi in an abandoned shopping mall. I think that's the effect there. The original obviously sounding like this. I will obviously keep the original, but you can see how drastic this effect gets. Obviously, the more you stretch the audio, the better. Let's go ahead and one more thing. I'm gonna do it to halfway, but ish, a little less than halfway. But now instead of stretching it to be the exact same length, I'm actually gonna stretch it so that's a little bit longer and a little bit slower. Repitch mode, and that'll make it so we don't have to lose all that high frequency, but we still get a lo-fi effect. And maybe that's too slow. So you tell me, which one do you guys like better? Let's listen to this little drop here at this tempo. It's got even more of a warbly sound because we stretched it. It's in a different key. And let's compare that to this. So Goalful, my question to you now is one of these trap and one of these lo-fi? So the point of that is, I probably won't use the stretched version, but the point of that, showing that, is you can most likely take layers of your track, or take certain layers of your track, or take whole tracks and use this stretching technique using the repitch mode to get a lo-fi warbly effect if you don't have plugins or anything like that. Because when you think of tape, the reason it sounds warbly like that is because the physical tape gets stretched and pulled and moves at different rates and hits bumps in the road. And that this is a way to emulate that digitally. And I have a whole video on this. It's called like Easy Lo-Fi Technique. If you just type that in, Easy Lo-Fi Technique, Taetro. Pickett says, are you using a particular plugin to time stretch? No, this is all built in with Ableton Live, using warping, specifically the repitch mode, stretching the segment BPM and shrinking it, flattening it, and then stretching it back out. But for now, we'll stick with this version, the actual version. I'm really stoked over the past 3 weeks. This only took us, I think, 3 sessions to get this beat done, and it came along really well, I would say. I'm gonna prepare this for, I think it's done with mix. I'm gonna prepare it for release. Take one more look at things, make sure it's good, and hopefully by next week I'll be able to tell you guys, hey, go on Spotify and listen to that track we made. I think that is the way to go. And we will be back next week. Let's start making a new beat. And if we can continue this cycle, I'll keep releasing beats if you guys like it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't yet, go to youtube.com/Taetro, Taetro. That's me. My name's Taetro. And subscribe to my channel because I've got more tutorials very similar to what we just did today on different plugins, on different MIDI controllers. I'm putting up a vlog today about setting up this home studio. I've been vlogging the past few weeks actually. I put beats up every week, Tuesday and Wednesday. I do beats with ADSR, beat of the week. Make sure you're also subscribed here on ADSR's YouTube channel. But yeah, I would love to see some of you all in my channel, because I'm going to start doing more live streams on my own channel. I took a little break because I moved, but those will be starting up again soon. But you can count on me being here every Thursday as long as ADSR would like to continue. Just make sure you're subscribed, youtube.com/Taetro, Taetro. Find me on Instagram at Taetro, Twitter at Nick Taetro. Let me know you came from the ADSR stream. I would love to know. But thank you all so much. This has been a great time. See you next week. Get ready for this beat to be on your favorite streaming service. I guess in the end screen, if you all could let me know, what do you listen to music on? Spotify, Apple Music, something else? Let me know. I'm going to hit the end screen now. But thank you all so much for watching. This has been Taetro for ADSR. Have a good one.